It all started on a quiet morning but would soon explode across every social media platform the day Remy Ma's world came crashing down. The courtroom was supposed to bring her peace, maybe even closure. But when the judge uttered those final words in favor of Mr. Papoose, the air turned cold and Remy's confident smile slowly faded. Cameras caught everything, the trembling hands, the glare in her eyes, and the moment she realized she had just lost everything. To the man she once called her soulmate. Fans were shocked. No one could believe it. Remy Ma, the Bronx legend, the tough queen who'd fought her way back to the top after prison, was now being ordered to pay alimony to her husband, the same man who had built his image on loyalty and love. But what really sent the internet into chaos wasn't the ruling itself. It was Remy's reaction. Moments after the verdict, she stormed out of the courtroom, her voice echoing through the marble halls. Witnesses say she shouted, "He betrayed me. After everything I did for him," before collapsing into tears on the steps outside, and that was just the beginning. Within minutes, videos surfaced online, shaky phone clips of Remy crying in her car, screaming into her phone and calling out names that had fans scrambling for answers. Was she talking to Easy, the block captain? Was she blaming Fat Joe for not showing up? Or was she accusing Papoose of setting her up from the start? Insiders claim that Remy's meltdown wasn't just about the money, it was personal. Sources close to her say she felt humiliated, betrayed, and played like a fool in front of the whole world. Pap's quiet victory outside the courthouse, smiling faintly, shaking hands with his lawyer, refusing to comment, only added fuel to the fire. By nightfall, hashtags like hashtag Remy Breakdown, hashtag PAPOOSE wins, and hashtag Bronx Drama were trending worldwide. Fans took sides, friends unfollowed each other, and hip-hop blogs exploded with rumors about what really happened behind closed doors. But the truth? The truth was darker, deeper, and more twisted than anyone could imagine. Because what Remy Ma did next would change everything. The world of hip-hop was still shaking hours after the courtroom verdict dropped. What was supposed to be another routine legal proceeding between two public figures turned into a full-blown media earthquake. Reporters who had gathered for soundbites suddenly found themselves in the middle of a scene so raw and unexpected that even seasoned journalists admitted they had never witnessed anything like it. The name Remy Ma dominated every headline, every tweet, every late-night talk segment. As she stepped out of the courthouse, Remy's entire aura shifted. Once known for her unbreakable confidence and flawless control under pressure, she looked visibly shattered. Cameras caught every trembling breath, every moment her eyes darted toward the flashing lights, unsure whether to hide or to fight back. The crowd outside, once cheering her as a symbol of resilience, now stood frozen as the reality of the judge's words settled in. Papoose had officially won the alimony case. For a woman who had spent years rebuilding her empire after prison, that single ruling hit harder than any diss track or industry betrayal ever could. Commentators wasted no time analyzing the fallout. Some claimed the marriage had been doomed for months. Others swore they saw this coming since the rumors of tension began surfacing earlier in the year. But what no one expected was the way Remy reacted, unfiltered, emotional, and painfully human. Inside sources revealed that moments before the verdict, she had been confident. Friends close to her said she believed the court would rule in her favor. After all, she'd been the breadwinner, the career powerhouse, the one who carried her family through thick and thin. But when the judge delivered the decision against her, everything changed. The courtroom silence was broken only by the faint shuffle of papers and the heavy exhale of disbelief. Those sitting near the front swore they saw tears forming in her eyes long before she walked out. By the time she reached the courthouse steps, paparazzi had already surrounded the area. The flashes of cameras created a dizzying storm of light, and Remy's face told a story of pain and disbelief. She tried to compose herself, straightened her posture, but her body language betrayed her. Behind the oversized sunglasses and designer coat, her heartbreak was visible to anyone paying attention. The narrative spread like wildfire. Fans flooded social media with messages of support, while others speculated about what really went wrong between her and Papoose. Hip-hop forums lit up with conspiracy theories. Some blamed industry politics, others hinted at betrayal within their inner circle. The loudest voices insisted that money was never the true issue. It was about pride, love, and years of unresolved tension boiling over. The cameras followed her all the way to her car. A brief video clip captured her sitting silently in the backseat, staring out the window as her driver pulled away. No tears, no statements, just 1,000 emotions locked behind a blank stare. The image became instantly iconic. Remy Ma, the rap queen known for her strength, caught in a moment of pure vulnerability. Within hours, every entertainment outlet was running the story. Remy Ma breaks down after Papoose wins Alimony case became the top trending headline on celebrity blogs. The shade pages dissected her outfit, her body language, even the playlist that reportedly played in her car as she left the courthouse. Fans claimed the song blasting through her speakers was one of Papoose's older tracks, a detail that added a cruel twist to the narrative. Behind the scenes, friends and associates were scrambling. Those who had been close to the couple during their years together were now fielding endless calls from producers, reporters, and podcast hosts begging for exclusive interviews. Everyone wanted a piece of the story. Some insiders tried to stay neutral, but others began leaking fragments of information that painted a very different picture of the marriage, a picture filled with arguments, jealousy, and quiet resentment. According to one source, tension between the two had been simmering long before the case ever reached court. The alimony claim, they said, was only the final straw. There had been disagreements about finances, about loyalty, and about the growing influence of new people in Remy's circle. While Papoose remained publicly calm and collected, insiders whispered that he had been quietly building his case, gathering receipts and witnesses to prove he deserved support after years of allegedly sacrificing his own career for hers. The revelation sent shockwaves through the industry. For years, fans had idolized their relationship as one of hip-hop's most solid unions, the ultimate example of ride-or-die love. Papoose had famously stood by Remy during her time behind bars, visiting her regularly and publicly declaring his loyalty. Their reunion after her release had been celebrated as a love story reborn. But now, with the court ruling in his favor, that narrative was unraveling in real time. As the news spread, social media exploded. Memes flooded timelines, mixing humor with disbelief. Some users posted throwback clips of the couple's romantic moments, captioned with ironic quotes about loyalty and payback. Others defended Remy fiercely, arguing that no one knew the full story. Few even accused Papoose of using the legal system to humiliate his wife. The debate grew louder by the hour. Remy's team tried to control the damage. Within 24 hours, they issued a brief statement requesting privacy and urging fans not to believe the speculative narrative circulating online. But the statement only fueled curiosity. People wanted to know why she had broken down so publicly. They wanted details, what happened inside that courtroom, what words were exchanged, and how a couple once so united had reached this bitter end. Behind closed doors, Remy was said to be spiraling. Friends described her as withdrawn, barely speaking, spending long nights replaying old memories and questioning who she could trust. The confidence that once defined her had been replaced by anger and confusion. She reportedly stopped taking calls from certain industry friends, suspecting that leaks were coming from within her own circle. The sense of betrayal ran deep. Meanwhile, Papoose handled the aftermath in a completely different way. While Remy's world seemed to crumble, he maintained a low-key presence. He was spotted leaving a studio session 2 days later, calm and composed. Pap's silence spoke volumes. To some, it looked like dignity. To others, calculated indifference. Either way, his quiet demeanor contrasted sharply with the chaos surrounding Remy. Commentators began framing the situation as a battle of composure, Remy's emotional unraveling versus Papoose's cool restraint. It made for perfect tabloid drama. Every move she made became another headline. When she unfollowed several mutual friends on social media, blogs treated it like a declaration of war. When she deleted old photos of her and Pap together, fans interpreted it as confirmation that reconciliation was off the table for good. But underneath the gossip and speculation, something deeper was happening. Those closest to Remy knew that the court ruling wasn't just about finances. It represented years of emotional buildup finally erupting. The woman who had built a career on strength and survival was now facing a new kind of battle, one that couldn't be fought with lyrics or swagger. She'd always prided herself on being a fighter, but this time the fight was against the narrative itself. The world had decided she was broken, defeated, and humiliated, and Remy wasn't ready to accept that image. In private, she began plotting how to take control of the story. Sources say she started making calls to producers, planning interviews, and preparing to speak her truth. But before she could do that, another twist would send her story in an even darker direction. As night fell on the second day after the verdict, paparazzi photos surfaced showing Remy leaving a private event in tears. Rumors claimed the event had been hosted by a close mutual friend of the couple and that something said inside had triggered her emotional outburst. Witnesses described her as furious, storming out before the night ended. No one knew what was said, but the images reignited the online firestorm. Entertainment commentators latched onto the photos instantly, calling it the second breakdown. The narrative grew more tragic by the hour, Remy isolated, betrayed, and emotionally shattered while Papoose quietly moved forward. The power dynamics that once defined their relationship had flipped completely. He now appeared calm and victorious, while she was cast as the fallen queen struggling to hold herself together. By the end of the week, the story had transcended celebrity gossip. Relationship experts, legal analysts, and even motivational speakers began weighing in on talk shows and podcasts. Everyone wanted to dissect the meaning behind the case. Was it about gender roles in the industry? Was it revenge? Or was it simply a tragic collapse of love under the pressure of fame? Each theory added another layer to the drama. Remy's fans, however, weren't ready to give up on her. Online campaigns began trending under hashtags like #StandWithRemy and #QueenNeverFalls. Her supporters shared clips of her most inspiring moments, reminding the world that she had survived worse before. They urged her to rise again, to speak up and reclaim her power. And somewhere in that growing storm of noise and emotion, Remy began to find a flicker of determination again. The cameras might have captured her lowest point, but deep down she was already thinking about the comeback. Not a musical one, at least not yet, but an emotional and personal resurrection. She wasn't about to let one courtroom decision define her legacy. The only problem was, every time she tried to move forward, another secret from her past threatened to pull her back down. Because what the public didn't know was that there were hidden layers to this story, layers involving people Remy once trusted, financial moves made in silence, and alliances that would soon crumble under scrutiny. The courtroom loss was only the beginning. The real story was about to unfold, and when it did, it would expose truths that no one, not even Papoose himself, was ready for. And as the cameras kept rolling and the internet kept buzzing, the question hanging in everyone's mind was simple. How far would Remy Ma go to reclaim her crown, and what would she sacrifice to do it? The answer would begin to reveal itself. In the days that followed, when loyalty turned to suspicion, when friends became informants, and when the line between justice and revenge began to blur. Because the moment the verdict was announced, a storm had been set in motion. And for Remy Ma, that storm was just getting started. The storm that began in the courtroom refused to die down. Every hour brought a new headline, a fresh rumor, a new exclusive claiming to know the real reason behind the couple's collapse. The internet was feeding on every pixel of the story, and Remy Ma, once the fearless symbol of perseverance, had become the center of a narrative she couldn't control. Her team's attempts to silence the speculation failed miserably. The more they asked for privacy, the louder the noise became. Influencers dissected her every move, YouTubers released dramatic timeline breakdowns, and gossip podcasts title episodes with phrases like Remy's empire in crisis and Pap's revenge or justice. The situation had evolved from a legal dispute into a public obsession. In the midst of the chaos, Papoose's calm silence only added to the tension. He wasn't posting cryptic captions or firing back. Instead, he seemed almost detached, focused, busy. Pap's composure was interpreted in 100 different ways. Some saw quiet strength, others saw cold satisfaction. But to Remy, it felt like betrayal on top of betrayal. She had spent years defending his loyalty, insisting he was different from the rest. Now the image was crumbling, and she was left to face the aftermath alone. Behind closed doors, she was still reeling from the emotional shock. Those who saw her described a woman caught between fury and heartbreak. She reportedly spent hours scrolling through online comments, alternating between disbelief and anger. The same fans who once celebrated her as an icon were now debating whether she had lost control. The duality of fame had never felt more painful. She was both adored and devoured by the same audience. As the days passed, more stories emerged, some half-truths, others pure fabrication. An unverified insider report claimed that Remy had spent millions supporting Papoose's ventures over the years and that the court's decision was a result of mismanaged finances. Another blog alleged that a secret prenup had been voided after an undisclosed agreement between them. Whether real or invented, these details painted a picture of chaos and confusion. Remy's inner circle began shrinking rapidly. People she had trusted for years stopped answering her calls. Longtime collaborators kept their distance, afraid to get dragged into the controversy. Even those who meant well struggled to comfort her. The weight of public scrutiny made genuine conversation impossible. Every word spoken privately risked being twisted into a headline. Meanwhile, whispers of deeper betrayal began circulating. Anonymous posts on fan forums suggested that someone close to her had leaked financial documents to the opposing legal team. Others speculated about a mystery witness whose testimony had turned the tide in Papoose's favor. Though unconfirmed, the rumors spread like wildfire, leaving Remy paranoid and distrustful of nearly everyone around her. As the tension mounted, Remy's silence became a story of its own. Weeks passed without an official statement. The absence of her voice left a vacuum, and that vacuum was filled with assumptions. Fans pleaded for her to speak up, but those closest to her advised caution. They knew one wrong sentence could ignite another explosion. Eventually, Remy made her first public appearance since the verdict. She arrived at a charity event in New York City, dressed impeccably but visibly drained. Cameras flashed furiously as she stepped out of her car, her expression unreadable. Commentators noted the shift in her aura, less defiant, more reflective. The once uncheckable queen of confidence now moved with quiet precision, as though every gesture was calculated. That night, social media erupted again. Every clip of her appearance went viral. Some praised her strength for showing up despite the turmoil. Others accused her of staging a performance to win sympathy. No matter how she moved, someone found a reason to twist it. The court of public opinion was relentless. Yet beneath the glossy exterior, something was changing inside her. Friends said the heartbreak had given way to determination. She was no longer crying over the loss, she was studying it. She wanted to know how she'd been outplayed, who had betrayed her, and what it would take to reclaim control. Her private conversations reportedly turned strategic. Instead of asking why, she began asking how. How could she turn this narrative around? How could she remind the world who she really was? She started revisiting old interviews, dissecting her own public image and planning her next move with surgical precision. Meanwhile, the gossip mill turned its attention to Papoose. Pap had been seen in meetings with producers, fueling speculation that he was working on a documentary or memoir. Some insiders claimed he was being courted by streaming platforms eager to capitalize on the drama. The possibility that he might publicly tell his side of the story terrified Remy's team. They feared his calm tone would make his version sound more credible, leaving her with no defense. To make matters worse, an old video resurfaced showing the couple in a heated exchange during a live interview months before the case. In the clip, Pap had hinted at carrying burdens for love, while Remy had brushed off the comment with laughter. The clip, once harmless, now looked prophetic. Fans began re-examining every word, every expression, searching for hidden meanings. Remy's management decided it was time for a counter-narrative. They began contacting sympathetic media outlets to arrange a tell-all interview, one that would frame her as misunderstood, hurt, but still dignified. Plans were made for lighting, wardrobe, and tone. Every detail mattered. They wanted to remind people of the woman who had survived incarceration and reinvented herself against all odds. This was not going to be a sob story, it would be a redemption arc. But before that interview could happen, another twist hit like a thunderbolt. A well-known gossip site published leaked text messages allegedly between Papoose and a legal advisor. suggesting that he had planned the alimony strategy long before the public even knew they were having issues. The leak implied calculation, not coincidence. Within hours, #PapSetup began trending, with fans questioning whether he had manipulated the system to win sympathy and money. The internet turned volatile again. Those who had celebrated his victory began demanding explanations. Others defended him, arguing that the messages were fabricated. The chaos reignited old arguments between fan bases. Remy, for the first time since the verdict, found herself in a position of sympathy again. The tides were shifting, and she could feel it. Her team seized the opportunity. The tell-all interview was fast-tracked and filmed within days. The final product would air in prime time, marketed as Remy Ma, the truth behind the tears. Producers promised authenticity and raw emotion. They wanted to capture her pain but also her strength. Remy rehearsed her points relentlessly, determined not to let emotion derail her message. She needed to appear vulnerable but unbroken, a careful balance that only the most seasoned public figures could pull off. When the interview finally aired, it became an event. Millions tuned in. The opening shot showed her seated in a minimalist set, no makeup excess, just raw emotion. She spoke softly at first, recounting her journey from the Bronx to fame, from incarceration to redemption. Then she addressed the court case. Without mentioning specific legal details, she described the betrayal of trust and the feeling of being ambushed by someone she once considered her partner. Her voice didn't shake, her composure returned. The reaction was immediate and overwhelming. Hashtags flipped overnight. Fans flooded timelines with messages of support. Clips from the interview were shared across platforms, set to emotional music, captioned with phrases like, "She's still the queen and they can't break her spirit." For the first time in weeks, Remy was back in control of her story. Yet even as the public began to sympathize, behind the scenes new cracks appeared. Some of Papoose's associates started leaking subtle counterclaims, suggesting that the interview had been staged and rehearsed. Anonymous accounts began posting documents that contradicted parts of her narrative. The back and forth created another wave of confusion. Nobody knew what to believe anymore. What had begun as a legal battle was now a full-blown PR war. Media outlets split into camps, those backing Remy's redemption and those supporting Pap's calm integrity. The couple's friends were forced to pick sides, often losing followers or opportunities depending on their allegiance. Collaborations were canceled, endorsements frozen. The drama was no longer just emotional, it was financial. Remy, however, refused to crumble again. The fire in her had reignited. She started writing music in secret tracks filled with raw emotion, coded messages, and unfiltered truths. Those who heard snippets described them as some of her most powerful lyrics ever. It wasn't just music. It was therapy, a reclaiming of power through art. Industry insiders began whispering that a comeback album might be in the works. If true, it would be the perfect response to the chaos, a creative resurrection that could redefine her legacy. Labels quietly reached out, hoping to be part of the moment. The same media that once criticized her was now preparing to celebrate her rebirth. But even as the narrative turned, one lingering problem remained: trust. She still didn't know who had leaked the personal information that started the spiral. Without knowing, she couldn't fully move on. Her circle remained small, her patience thinner than ever. Every day, she examined the people around her, wondering who might have sold her story for a quick payday. Late one night, while working on new material, she reportedly received an anonymous email. It contained screenshots and attachments suggesting that one of her former business associates had provided inside information to both tabloids and Papoose's legal team. The evidence wasn't conclusive, but it was enough to reopen wounds she had tried to close. She was furious but oddly calm. The discovery gave her clarity. The betrayal hadn't come solely from outside. It had come from within. That realization would become the emotional core of her new music and the driving force behind her next moves. As the month ended, a shift began in how the public perceived the situation. What had started as gossip was now being discussed as a cautionary tale about fame, trust, and survival. Commentators who once mocked her began framing her as a victim of a system that turned personal pain into public spectacle. The tone had changed. Remy wasn't naive enough to think this storm was over, but she'd regained something more important than sympathy control. Her silence had once been seen as weakness. Now it was viewed as strategy. Her every move was calculated, deliberate. She was no longer reacting to the story. She was directing it. The comeback wasn't official yet, but the energy was building. Studio lights were turning back on, collaborators were returning calls, and the same cameras that once captured her breakdown were now eager to film her rise. Still, beneath the surface, darker forces lingered. The anonymous leaks hadn't stopped. Entirely, new information hinted at deeper secrets about the couple's finances, shared projects, and hidden investments. There was talk of another legal filing, one that could expose everything. And as Remy prepared to rebuild her empire, unaware that another wave was forming just beyond the horizon, one thing was certain: the story was far from over. The drama that began in the courtroom had spilled into every corner of her life, and the next chapter promised revelations that could shake the industry all over again. Because when love, money, and pride collide in the public eye, there are never clean endings, only new beginnings born from chaos. Just when everyone thought the fire was finally cooling down, another spark set the entire industry ablaze again. The quiet that had begun to settle after Remy's emotional comeback interview didn't last long. Within days, a new storm erupted, this time even messier, more invasive, and far more personal than before. A tabloid site notorious for stirring chaos dropped what they claimed were exclusive financial records, tied to Remy and Papoose's shared ventures. The headline was designed to destroy: Remy Ma accused of hiding funds Papoose demands. Second hearing. Within hours, it spread across every platform. YouTubers went live instantly. Instagram pages flooded with posts breaking down the alleged numbers. Some called it revenge, others called it karma. But what really set the story apart wasn't the content of the leak, it was the timing. It hit the internet just as Remy's. New PR push was beginning to repair her image. To Remy, it felt like sabotage. Deep inside, she knew this wasn't a coincidence. Someone was deliberately trying to drag her back down, to keep her name in the mud just when she was starting to rise again. Her team went into full damage control mode, sending legal notices to the sites hosting the documents, calling them fabricated and defamatory. But the internet had already taken the bait. Once a rumor goes viral, denial rarely matters. Within 24 hours, hashtags flipped again. Where fans had been rallying behind her, now timelines were split in half. Some defended her fiercely, while others began questioning the sincerity of her recent emotional confession. If she had nothing to hide, one commentator said during a viral livestream, "Why is she panicking now?" Behind the scenes, panic wasn't even the right word, it was rage. Sources close to Remy said she was livid. She'd already suspected someone inside her circle was leaking information, but this was different. These documents were private, sealed in her business records. For them to appear online meant someone with serious access had turned against her. She began cutting people off, quietly, surgically, and without warning. Assistants were dismissed, old friends were ghosted, business managers replaced. It wasn't paranoia anymore, it was strategy. Every name in her phone became a potential suspect. Every DM thread was reread, every screenshot analyzed. She wasn't going to be blindsided again. Meanwhile, Papoose stayed silent, again. The public couldn't tell whether his silence was discipline or guilt, but to Remy, it felt like mockery. He didn't need to say anything. The media was doing it for him. Analysts were already spinning narratives about how Pap had played the long game, how his patience and planning had paid off, how he had become the quiet victor in a battle built on emotion. But those close to him hinted that even Papoose wasn't at peace. The leaks had triggered investigations into where the information came from, and whispers began circulating that some of the anonymous sources tied to the leaks had direct connections to his legal team. If true, it could damage his credibility, even expose him to legal trouble. The story had officially become bigger than both of them. It wasn't just about money or relationships anymore, it was about legacy, power, and survival in an industry that fed on spectacle. By the second week of the new scandal, the internet's attention span was stretching to its limit. And then, in a twist no one saw coming, Remy decided to take control in the most unexpected way possible. She went live, no PR scripts, no fancy lighting, just her sitting in a plain room, face bare, phone in hand. The live stream began with millions watching instantly. For the first few seconds, she said nothing. She just stared into the camera, her silence heavier than any words. Then she began speaking, calm, steady, deliberate. She didn't mention Papoose by name, but everyone knew who she was talking about. She spoke about betrayal, about privacy, about how fame turns love into leverage. She told her audience that everything she had built had been weaponized against her. Her tone wasn't angry, it was exhausted. She ended the live with a chilling line. You can't destroy someone who built themselves from nothing. The internet exploded. The live reached record-breaking numbers. Clips flooded TikTok and X, each caption with emotional reactions, dramatic edits, and soundtracks of heartbreak and triumph. In a matter of hours, she had flipped the narrative again, from victim to warrior. But while her fans celebrated, the people behind the scenes weren't cheering. The leak investigators, PR agents, and lawyers working the case realized her statement had indirectly confirmed something. There was indeed truth behind the leaks. She hadn't denied the existence of the records, only their use against her. That single sentence reignited interest from both legal teams. Suddenly, a quiet rumor began circulating that a second hearing might be on the horizon, one that could potentially reverse the financial settlement or expose hidden evidence from both sides. Neither camp confirmed it publicly, but the whispers were loud enough to make headlines. The industry began taking sides all over again. Some artists publicly supported Remy, posting messages about strength and resilience. Others stayed out of it, afraid of choosing the wrong team. Producers debated whether collaborating with her during such a scandal would be genius or career suicide. Every move became a gamble. Meanwhile, Remy threw herself back into work. Studio sessions stretched late into the night. Those close to her said she barely slept, running on adrenaline and vengeance. The music coming out of those sessions was reportedly electric, filled with coded pain, cryptic bars, and indirect jabs that fans instantly recognized as aimed at her ex. It didn't take long before snippets started leaking, whether intentionally or not, no one could say. But once they hit the internet, fans went wild. Lines about loyalty sold cheap and paper crowns falling apart became instant anthems. The hype for her revenge project, as fans dubbed it, was massive. She hadn't even announced an album, but the world was already waiting for it. The irony wasn't lost on anyone. The same chaos that tried to destroy her was now fueling her greatest artistic rebirth. But then came another unexpected twist, a statement from Papoose's representatives. After weeks of silence, his camp finally broke their calm demeanor. They released a brief but powerful note, hinting that legal action might be taken against certain media outlets spreading defamatory and manipulated material. It was a subtle warning, but its message was clear. He wasn't backing down. The tension between the two camps reignited like gasoline on open fire. Fans, commentators, and gossip pages began speculating about what each side truly had on the other. Theories became wilder with every passing day. Some claimed Remy had hidden files proving Pap's disloyalty. Others suggested he had video evidence that could crush her credibility. None of it was confirmed, but in the world of celebrity scandal, confirmation didn't matter. Perception was everything. Through it all, Remy's demeanor shifted again. Gone was the broken woman sobbing on courthouse steps. In her place stood a strategist, calm, relentless, and dangerously focused. Every move she made felt intentional, every post carefully timed. She had learned the rules of the media battlefield and was now using them better than anyone. She started appearing again, podcasts, music events, charity panels. Each time, she looked more composed. She didn't need to say much. Her presence alone spoke volumes. The message was clear. She wasn't hiding, she wasn't ashamed, and she definitely wasn't finished. Industry insiders began whispering about her transformation. What was supposed to be her downfall had become her rebranding moment. She was evolving from controversial rapper to media-savvy powerhouse. The comeback was no longer just about music, it was about reclaiming the throne of influence. But success comes with new enemies. The same outlets that once sympathized began digging deeper again, hungry for the next scoop. Someone leaked an old audio clip from a private meeting, voices discussing contracts, percentages, and trust funds. The authenticity was uncertain, but the clip's implications were damning. It hinted that both parties had used financial loopholes during their marriage. The story once again spun out of control. Both camps released denials, but the damage was done. The line between truth and fabrication had blurred so completely that even their closest allies didn't know what to believe anymore. In the middle of all the noise, Remy began to realize something profound. The world didn't care about truth. It cared about story. And if story was power, then she would write hers louder, bolder, and bigger than anyone else could. As weeks turned into months, her strategy began to pay off. The energy online shifted again. Public sympathy returned not because people believed her, but because they admired her resilience. The image of Remy Ma standing tall despite endless chaos became iconic. She wasn't the broken ex-wife anymore. She was the unshakable survivor of fame's cruel circus. Her upcoming music was now the most anticipated release of the year. Previews teased cryptic visuals, shattered mirrors, courtroom backdrops, and a throne wrapped in fire. Every frame screamed symbolism. Fans dissected each teaser like detectives. Papoose, meanwhile, remained largely invisible, either retreating from the spotlight or waiting for the perfect moment to strike back. Behind the scenes, however, a storm still brewed. Legal teams were meeting again, quietly preparing documents. Financial disputes hadn't disappeared. They had only grown more complicated. And buried in those papers were details that, if ever made public, could destroy both of their reputations. Remy knew this. And that's why, despite her renewed confidence, there were still nights when she stared at her reflection, wondering how much of herself she had lost in the war. The fame, the followers, the hashtags, it meant nothing compared to the trust that had been shattered. But she wasn't about to stop now. Not when she had come this far. The breakdown that started on courthouse steps had transformed into a global spectacle, and she was finally learning how to use that spectacle for herself. The world might have thought it was witnessing the end of Remy Ma, but in reality, it was witnessing her reinvention, messy, complicated, and powerful. Yet just as she began to stabilize, another unexpected blow was coming, one that would drag not only her and Papoose back into chaos, but pull their families, friends, and even former collaborators into the storm. Because the next leak wouldn't come from an anonymous insider or a gossip site, it would come from someone very close to both of them. Someone who had everything to gain from keeping the feud alive. And when that betrayal hit, it wouldn't just threaten their reputations, it would threaten to expose secrets neither of them ever wanted the world to know. The calm before that storm was deceptive. The world thought they had seen it all. But what was coming next would rewrite everything and prove that in the world of love, loyalty, and legacy, nothing stays buried forever. The calm that followed was deceptive, the kind of eerie silence that comes right before the storm tears the sky open. For a few weeks, it looked like the chaos had finally begun to fade. Remy was busy building again, reshaping her image, reviving her career, and proving that resilience wasn't just a word. It was a weapon. Papoose, on the other hand, had gone completely quiet. No posts, no interviews, no cryptic captions, just silence. Fans assumed it was over. The headlines started to move on, the gossip channels found new targets, and everyone thought the Remy Pap saga had finally reached its exhausted end. But they didn't know that behind the scenes, something darker was brewing, something that would make everything before it look small. It started with a podcast. Not one of the big ones, just a low-budget, late-night show hosted by an ex-friend of an insider. The episode began like any other messy gossip session, wild claims, alleged receipts, and half-truths strung together for views. But midway through the show, the host dropped a bombshell, an unreleased voice memo allegedly recorded during a private conversation between two people close to the couple. The clip was short, muffled, hard to decipher, but the names mentioned were clear. There were talks about hidden investments, unreported income, and secret partnerships. The host claimed it proved that someone in Remy and Papoose's inner circle had been feeding both sides information for months, acting as a double agent in exchange for money and exposure. The episode barely had a few thousand views at first, but by the next morning it had exploded across every social platform. Major gossip blogs reposted the audio with dramatic headlines. Remy and Pap betrayed by their own inner circle secret. Double agent exposed? Voice recording reveals how the drama was engineered from inside. The speculation was immediate and merciless. Names were thrown around without proof. Old friends, ex-assistants, even distant cousins were accused. The comment sections became battlegrounds. Everyone wanted to know, who was the mole? And then, within 48 hours, the mystery person's identity leaked. It was someone neither of them expected, someone who had been there since the early days, trusted by both sides through every high and low, Remy's former stylist and longtime. Confident, a person who had access to nearly everything: contracts, schedules, private calls. According to reports, this individual had allegedly sold information to multiple outlets over months, feeding small stories to gossip blogs and later, more damaging details to rivals in the industry. Worse, they weren't just leaking. They were manipulating. Screenshots began circulating, allegedly showing messages between the stylist and various journalists, crafting narratives to make both Remy and Papoose look worse, all while pretending to be their loyal. Friend, when the evidence hit the web, it was like watching a grenade detonate in slow motion. Remy's team immediately issued a statement condemning the betrayal, calling it the most personal and painful violation imaginable. Papoose's camp echoed the same sentiment. For once, the two opposing sides seemed to agree on something: they had both been played. But the damage was already done. The stylists, realizing the walls were closing in, tried to defend themselves online, posting vague justifications about being under pressure and doing what was necessary to survive in a brutal industry. The excuses only made things worse. The internet tore them apart. Within days, they deleted their accounts and vanished. Yet their vanishing act couldn't erase what they'd left behind. The leaks had reignited every dormant rumor, reopened every old wound, and reignited the feud between Remy and Pap in the ugliest way possible. Because buried inside those leaked files were not just financial details, but personal revelations that neither of them ever wanted public. Screenshots of text messages, deep, emotional ones, allegedly between Remy and someone she confided in during the worst days of her marriage. Messages about heartbreak, regret, and resentment. Lines that could be interpreted 100 different ways. But the internet, of course, chose the most dramatic interpretations possible. Overnight hashtags like #RemyExposed and #Pap played the long game were trending again. Old interviews were dug up, every past word re-examined, every silence reinterpreted. The gossip machine was alive and hungry again. Remy was furious, but this time her fury had a different edge. She wasn't sad or broken or defeated, she was calculating. For her, this wasn't just about emotions anymore. It was about image, legacy, and control. She realized something important. She couldn't stop people from talking, but she could decide what they were talking about. Within days, she made a bold move. She announced a full-length documentary project. Not a YouTube live, not a podcast interview, a professional, cinematic documentary titled Unbreakable: The Price of Being Remy. The teaser was minimal but powerful, her walking through an empty set, voiceover saying, "They told my story for me. Now I'm taking it back." It was a masterstroke. Immediately, the entire internet flipped again. The same pages that had roasted her last week were now hyping up the trailer. The same critics calling her desperate were now calling her brilliant. Everyone wanted to know what she'd reveal, and more importantly, would she name names? Behind the scenes, however, not everyone was celebrating. Papoose's camp was alarmed. The idea of a full-length documentary terrified them, especially if she planned to mention court settlements or private communications. They issued a quiet legal notice to her production team, a warning to avoid defamation. The public didn't know about the notice, but Remy did. And it only made her more determined. She didn't back down, she doubled down. She began dropping cryptic behind-the-scenes clips from the documentary shoot, silhouettes, broken mirrors, piles of torn letters. Each clip fueled speculation. Meanwhile, Papoose resurfaced for the first time in months. He didn't speak directly about the documentary, but made a surprise appearance at a major hip-hop festival. His performance included a freestyle that fans instantly interpreted as a direct response to Remy's project, filled with bars about truth twisted into art and narratives built on pain. The crowd went wild. The internet exploded. Again, now it wasn't just a feud, it was a full-scale cultural event. Every move either of them made was instantly dissected. Fans began taking sides all over again. Team Remy versus Team Pap became the new digital war zone. But what no one knew yet was that both of them were being manipulated again by the same entertainment networks and PR strategists who saw the feud as gold. Every controversy meant views, clicks, and money. Behind closed doors, producers were pitching reality TV deals, offering multi-million-dollar packages for joint interviews or even reunion specials. Some even proposed a reconciliation series, turning their pain into primetime entertainment. Neither Remy nor Pap agreed, at least not publicly, but the idea lingered. Fame had already blurred every boundary between real and staged. And as both sides tried to control their stories, the lines began to dissolve completely. The documentary eventually premiered on a major streaming platform, and it was explosive. Raw, emotional, beautifully shot, and brutally honest, or at least it appeared to be. Remy didn't hold back. She spoke about fame, love, betrayal, and survival. She didn't mention names directly, but the context made everything obvious. Viewers wept. Critics called it one of the boldest self-portraits in hip-hop history. Within 24 hours, it was trending worldwide. But with the praise came new backlash. Papoose's supporters accused her of rewriting history to make herself look like the victim. Others argued that she had exploited her own trauma for profit. The debates grew vicious, spilling across timelines like wildfire. And then, just when everyone thought the drama had reached its emotional peak, another leak hit. This time, it wasn't a rumor or a text message, it was a document. A confidential email chain allegedly between Remy's production team and certain journalists, revealing discussions about which narratives would generate the most engagement. In other words, parts of the documentary may have been exaggerated, even fabricated to drive attention. The revelation was devastating. Overnight, headlines flipped again. Was Remy's documentary scripted? Truth or PR strategy? New leaks question authenticity of Remy's story. The public's trust, which she had spent months rebuilding, began to fracture again. Her critics called her manipulative. Her supporters said she was being sabotaged. Again, and the worst part? No one knew who leaked those emails. Some whispered that it was someone from Pap's side. Others claimed it came from the same stylist who had disappeared months earlier. But insiders close to both camps suspected something far more strategic, that the leak came from within the streaming platform itself. Why? Because controversy sells. Every scandal meant more clicks, more streams, more headlines. Remy was furious. She had thought taking control of her narrative would set her free, but instead it had trapped her deeper inside the machine. The truth wasn't the story anymore, the spectacle was. Still, she refused to fold. She turned the backlash into fuel once again, posting a statement that read, "They'll twist my truth, but they can't erase my name." That post alone broke records. Millions of comments flooded in. The phrase became a slogan printed on shirts, hashtags, and banners. What was meant to destroy her had once again elevated her into cultural dominance. Papoose, watching from the sidelines, couldn't help but notice the irony. He had fought for peace and privacy, yet the louder she got, the more famous they both became. The world wasn't just consuming their pain, it was celebrating it. By the end of that month, both Remy and Pap had gained millions of new followers, countless interview offers, and renewed music sales. Their feud had become their greatest business venture, whether they liked it or not. But deep down, under all the fame and fire, something had changed permanently. Trust was gone. Whatever love had once held them together was now ashes beneath the weight of exposure. And yet, the story still wasn't over. Because the same week her documentary hit its peak, an anonymous whistleblower contacted a major entertainment journalist, claiming to have possession of the original court transcripts that both camps had worked hard to seal from public view. If those documents were real, and if they surfaced, they wouldn't just reignite the scandal. They would redefine it entirely, exposing truths neither side had ever wanted revealed. The journalist confirmed the files existed, but promised to verify their authenticity before release. Still, that statement alone sent shockwaves through the industry. Both camps scrambled to prepare. Lawyers were put on high alert. PR teams were briefed for containment operations. Everyone knew what was coming. Because if the leaks were real, they wouldn't just end reputations, they could end careers. The countdown had begun, and in the heart of it all stood Remy Ma, no longer just a rapper, no longer just a woman fighting for her name. She'd become a living paradox, the symbol of both strength and scandal, resilience and ruin. The next chapter of her story wasn't going to be about revenge or redemption. It was going to be about truth. But in a world where truth itself was currency, no one could say who would pay the final price. The industry was silent, the kind of silence that feels heavy, like the pause before an explosion. Every outlet, every fan page, every podcast host was waiting for one thing, the leak. Days turned into hours, hours into minutes, and then just past midnight on a Sunday, the internet caught fire. The whistleblower made good on their promise. Thousands of pages of alleged court documents were uploaded to a hidden link, then quickly mirrored and reposted across Reddit, X, and every gossip forum imaginable. The world didn't sleep that night. The files contained everything the public was never meant to see: transcripts, statements, depositions, and financial breakdowns that painted an even messier picture than anyone had imagined. What people discovered shattered both images, Remy's and Papoose's, at the same time. According to the leaked transcripts, the Alimony battle wasn't just about money. It was about ownership of brand rights, royalties, and creative control over projects they had built together. There were claims that certain songs, videos, and ventures had been quietly registered under Pap's name, while others had been funneled into Remy's companies. Both had accused each other of manipulation. It wasn't a simple win or lose story anymore. It was mutual destruction disguised as victory. Fans read every page as if it were a soap opera script. They highlighted lines, posted screenshots, and dissected every word like detectives. The internet divided once again. Half believed Papoose had played a long game to protect himself, while others claimed he'd exploited Remy's trust when she was most vulnerable. But the most shocking revelation wasn't financial, it was emotional. Buried deep within the court notes was a section summarizing private therapy sessions that both had attended before the split. The notes, which should have never been public, revealed years of resentment, jealousy, and unspoken pain. Pap reportedly described feeling invisible in his own marriage, while Remy confessed to feeling trapped inside an image she didn't recognize anymore. It wasn't just a feud anymore. It was heartbreak, raw, human, and brutally exposed. The internet went into meltdown. The hashtag shifted from hashtag Remy exposed and hashtag Pap wins to hashtag they both lost. For the first time, people began to see them not as enemies, but as two broken souls crushed by fame, betrayal, and the machine of public obsession. But the world doesn't pause for healing. Within hours, journalists were already turning their pain into headlines. Entertainment panels debated who was more to blame. Analysts dissected their relationship like a business case, and influencers milked the moment for content. Both Remy and Pap went offline. No post, no stories, no statements. Just silence. And that silence spoke louder than anything they could have said. Then, a week later, something completely unexpected happened. A new joint post appeared on both their accounts, the same image, the same caption. It wasn't a selfie, not a teaser, it was a simple black screen with white text. "We built this together. We'll heal this apart." The internet froze. It wasn't reconciliation, it was closure. A truce without reunion, peace without partnership. The kind of maturity that only comes after war. News outlets rushed to interpret it. Some said it was a PR move to calm the chaos. Others called it their most human moment yet. But to fans who had followed the story from the start, it felt like the curtain finally closing. In the days that followed, both artists quietly began rebuilding again, separately this time. Papoose returned to producing, focusing on mentoring younger artists, avoiding interviews altogether. Remy began hosting a talk show, raw, unfiltered, and empowering. It was less about gossip, more about growth. Each episode felt like a chapter of her own healing. But the legacy of their feud didn't fade. It became a cultural milestone. A cautionary tale about love under pressure, about how fame can turn affection into ammunition. and how the internet feeds on heartbreak until there's nothing left. Documentaries were made about the documentary. Podcasts revisited the saga for years. Every anniversary of the court verdict brought new retrospectives. And every time, people wondered, if the cameras weren't rolling, would the story have ended differently? For those who knew them best, the answer was simple, yes. Behind all the drama, the noise, and the spectacle, there were once two people who truly believed in each other. That belief, for a time, changed the culture. And the culture changed them too, and yet, even after everything, the betrayal, the breakdowns, the leaks, the endless rumors, the story didn't end in bitterness. It ended in growth. Because Remy Ma and Papoose had become something larger than their pain. They became symbols. Reminders that sometimes survival itself is the loudest kind of victory. The scandal faded, the hashtags slowed. The gossip cycle moved on. But the mark they left, that impossible combination of love, loyalty, and loss, remained etched in hip-hop history. Even years later, fans would still post clips of them performing together, captioning them with bittersweet nostalgia. They don't make love stories like this anymore, one fan wrote. Even when they fell apart, they stayed legendary. And maybe that's the truth of it all. Not every story needs a happy ending, some just need an honest one. Remy learned to embrace hers. She once said in an interview months later, "You can lose everything and still find yourself. Sometimes the storm is just the world's way of clearing your sky." That quote went viral, turning into an anthem for everyone who had ever felt broken, betrayed, or misunderstood. It was no longer about alimony or victory or loss. It was about transformation. The woman who once walked out of a courtroom in tears had walked into a new chapter with strength. The man who once stayed silent in pride had found humility in peace, and the fans who once chose sides had finally realized they were both just human. The curtain closed on one of hip-hop's most dramatic sagas, but the echoes of it would last forever. Because in the end, Remy Ma didn't just break down. She broke through. And there you have it, the emotional roller coaster that turned the entire industry upside down. From courtroom battles to leaked confessions, betrayal to redemption. Remy Ma and Papoose showed the world that love, fame, and pride can collide in the most unpredictable ways. It wasn't just about who won or who lost, it was about what fame cost. The trust they built, the empire they shared, and the truth they tried to protect all became casualties of public obsession. But what stands out most isn't the chaos. It's the comeback. Because no matter how deep the fall, Remy Ma proved that resilience always finds a way. She transformed her pain into power, her breakdown into a blueprint for survival. And whether you love her or not, you can't deny. That's legendary. Now it's your turn to weigh in. Do you think Remy was right to go public with her side of the story? Or did Papoose have every right to defend his peace and privacy? Was this whole saga genuine heartbreak or just another chapter in hip-hop's most strategic love story? Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. I want to hear your take on who really came out on top in this unforgettable drama. And if you've made it this far, you already know what to do. Hit that like button if you enjoyed diving into the madness. Subscribe for more shocking celebrity stories, and don't forget to turn on notifications so you never miss another wild twist from the world of hip-hop and reality TV. Because if there's one thing this story proves, in the world of fame, the drama never truly ends. It just waits for the next headline. Until next time, stay tuned, stay curious, and remember, in this game, even the truth has a price.